Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're happy to have you with us today. My name is Carrie Ferg, and I'm your host for Manta Trends webcast. Hear the winter blahs, how to turn a slow January into big business. We hope you'll tweet about today's event using hashtag MantaTrends. I want to take a few minutes to cover some important housekeeping items about the event. Let's first talk about your screen. During the webcast, you should see a slide area. Left of that is the media player. Under it, a box called the resource list, and some widgets. All of the widgets open and close. If you're having technical difficulties, please click on the help widget, the one with the question mark icon. My colleague Graham is answering your technical questions, so just send him a note. Also remember, we'll be taking a few questions from the audience today at the end of the webcast, so feel free to submit them anytime during the webcast today via the Q&A widget, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. I'd like to introduce our expert today, Sara Oberst. Sara Oberst is the Vice President of Marketing at Manta, and she is responsible for Manta's small business content, social media marketing, public relations, and branding. Prior to joining Manta in 2015, she was founder and chief marketing strategist for Gut Check Marketing. She began her career as a journalist. Oberst believes that through education and guidance, small business marketing can be simple and effective. We're glad to have you today, Sara. I'd like to hand it over to Sara now. She's going to give 10 easy ideas for you to make the most of January to ensure strong business all year long.
Thanks, Carrie. And thank you, everyone, for joining me. I'm really excited to be here to kick off the new year and make sure that everyone has some really solid, actionable tips to make the most of what may be a little bit of a slow season for you, but to prepare for the busier times ahead. So to that point, the first tip that I have is just plan now. Plan now for the year ahead. Use this time to look back at what worked for you last year and admit to some of those opportunities that you may have missed so that you can make the most of them in the coming year. I like to make a list of priorities at the top of the year so that I have the satisfaction of checking things off as I hit goals. And I find with a lot of the small business owners that I worked with when I had Gut Check Marketing that's a really excellent technique because it keeps you motivated as you work your way down that list. The physical act of checking off a completed task can really be that motivation that you need to just keep going. So another thing for some downtime tasks, definitely spend a little bit of your quieter moments at the first part of the year cleaning house. Take a hard look at your inbox. I'm sure if it's anything like mine, it's full of email newsletters that I don't ever get around to reading, other emails from potential partners, opportunities that I didn't have a chance to sort of really dive into and assess. So this is a great time to take a look back at your inbox and find out what is there that's worth keeping, along with, what it's time to really let go of. So, do you have any free or paid subscriptions to services that you never use? Do you have emails from potential partners, even local partners in your area that you can start responding to? Just be sure to use this time to recommit to the resources that do provide value just as much as to cleaning up your clutter. If there are subscriptions or resources that you signed up for last year and that you really should have been taking advantage of, but you just didn't find the time, maybe you signed up during your busier season and you just never got around to really digging into them, make a plan to use them consistently now for a few weeks. That'll help get you into the habit and get you in motion. So speaking of inboxes, another great way to spend a little time at the top of the year is to introduce yourself to some local partners. If it is a slow month for your business, use this downtime to reach out to other local businesses or even organizations, maybe your Chamber of Commerce or a professional organization in your area, and then of course charities, local charities, and talk to them and explore potential new partnerships. think about attending a local networking or a chamber event, make some long overdue phone calls to another small business neighbor up the street, or just pop in. And, a handshake and an introduction will go a really long way. You never know what might come out of establishing those relationships in the year to come. Another thing I really like to do, and I'm big on just sort of throughout the year making time for learning, and one of my favorite things about the small business owner community is that you are leaders in learning on the fly. I've never known a group of professionals to be as ambitious about continuing their professional development as small business owners are. And a lot of that comes just from necessity, obviously, because to some degree you have to be a jack of all trades, or at least have a basic understanding of all these different aspects of business in order to pick the right vendors, to source things out to help, hire the right employees. But if you're having a slow season, and whether it's now or it's in the summer months of the year, throw yourself into learning a new skill with a little bit of time behind you. This is a time when you can take a breath, you can dive a little deeper into a topic or a subject that you know is going to make an impact on your business. So your slow season is really the perfect time to master new skills. Sign up for professional courses online. There's so much of that now. There's lynda.com and udemy.com, just several others. You can do a lot of this stuff online when it's convenient for you, but you're still getting that mastery, and you're still getting those great subject matter experts teaching you, so you're getting good content. Or look at your local community college. If you want to know more about marketing or accounting or human resources, I'm sure that, wherever you are, there's a community college available that you have access to. Fees are typically really reasonable, and that's a great resource as well. So now's a perfect time to just start figuring out what your educational plans and your personal enrichment plans are going to be for the rest of this year. And don't forget, if you guys do have any questions as I'm going through these, we're on tip number 5 now, just use that Q&A tab there at the bottom of the screen to log your questions, and we'll get them all answered. Number 5 is make a list and test it twice. So we work a lot with small business owners here at Manta, and we get a lot of questions. Do you think Facebook ads are really going to help, bring new customers to my business? Or do you really think I need a website? Or how do you know it's time to freshen up your brand? Should I be blogging, or should I just do more social posts? All of these are questions that you've probably been asking yourself throughout the year. You may have taken a stab at a Facebook ad here or there. You may have launched a new logo to freshen up your brand, or tried a couple of blog posts. Maybe you lost steam on some of those things last year. This is a great time to just make a list of all those what ifs, and put them into action in the confines of a test. Sometimes when we call it a test, not only are we giving ourselves an opportunity to fail and to pick it back up and try it a different way to make it work, but there's also a time limit on it, which makes it feel a lot more attainable. It's like something that we can actually get accomplished. It's not this sort of never-ending project. So when you make a list, and it's a list of things you want to test to find out if they are impactful, that's a really good way to just sort of psychologically get your head around some of these things, bang around on them a little bit, be okay with not having all of it work out or work well for your particular type of business, and then pluck out those 1 or 2 things that really did show a lot of good potential and spend a little bit more time on those. And that also gives you that focus. So you don't have all these things rattling around all at the same time. You're really honing in on after having done some testing, the things that you really think show, a really good opportunity for you to invest not only more time, but money in the coming year. So on to number 6, speaking of money, budgeting. So once you've made a list, once you've done some testing, Facebook ads, blogging, should I use Twitter or Instagram? Do I need to rebrand my company? Do I need to think about, our messaging? Do I want to make a customer persona? All these kinds of things. You've plucked out those couple of things that really show great potential. This is the time then to take those things, have an understanding of how they're going to work, how often you're going to want to do them, any vendors you might need to hire to help you really take it to the next level, and start calculating how much you want to spend on each of those efforts. So the first step is knowing what you want to do, test to see what works, calculate the return on investment for these different efforts, look back now, see what's been successful in the past, incorporate, what your testing has told you is going to be a win, and then start breaking out your year by month, keeping a really close eye on seasonality for your business, which seasons or times of year are meaningful to you and your customers, and then add line items in an Excel document for each type of marketing effort, a social line item, the months of the year, how much you want to spend each month on social. Do you want to spend a little more as we get closer to the summer months because you're a landscaping business and that's when it's on your customer's mind, and then maybe you taper off a little bit when it starts to get colder? So you can plan all of that. You can have content, direct mail, sales efforts, any new products you need to purchase, vendors you need to hire to help you with these projects, or subscriptions that you're going to need to make it happen. And at the end of this exercise, you will not only have essentially a roadmap for all of the projects and the marketing that you want to execute on throughout the rest of the year, but you'll also know exactly what you want to spend on all of it, and hopefully from your testing, an idea of what your return on investment for that spend is going to be. So if you have any questions on any of this stuff, again, just go ahead and leave them for us in the Q&A, and we can drill down on any of these tips toward the end of the webinar with your questions. So as part of sort of the budgeting exercise, the testing exercise, working ahead now is going to save you a lot of time later. So now that you've made a list, you've tested, you know what you want to do, you've mapped out your budget. Along with your budget, you've inherently mapped out your timeline because you've done your budget by month over the course of the year. Now it's time to take a look at that list of projects month over month and figure out what you can go ahead and get done now so that you can almost set it and forget it when things start to really get hectic for you. So, can you work ahead and have several months of blog posts ready to publish if you've decided that adding a blog makes sense for your business? Can you go ahead and write and pre-schedule using like a Hootsuite tool or a Twitterific tool, pre-schedule months essentially worth of social media posts? Are you finally going to send that direct mail piece to all the new folks that are moving into your neighborhood to let them know about a new neighbor special that you're going to run in the spring? Is there a vendor for design or for mailing that you can go ahead and get in touch with now? So any of the pre-work that you can do is going to make these ambitious plans a lot more attainable. So now that you know what you want to do, you're looking toward working ahead to get a lot of the pre-work done and planning ahead for the year so that you can allow yourself to be busy running your business as opposed to doing your marketing when you need to be. This is also a really great time to start interviewing and selecting the vendors that you're going to need to help you execute these things. Small business owners are really good at a lot of different things, and we talked about, just this uncanny ability to learn something new and educate yourself on all these new skills that you need to effectively run and grow your business. But there are some things that you either don't want to do on your own or you just can't do. You're never going to be a Photoshop whiz. You're never going to learn how to, code a website. It's just, it's just not for you. Now's the time to figure out what those things are, put together a list of potential vendors that can provide those services for you, interview them, and select them for the projects that are coming down the pipe. And I'm saying this even if the project isn't going to start until, next November. Now's the time to get that person in place and booked. You'll spend more time with them. You'll feel less hectic and frustrated during the interview process. So you'll feel a lot more comfortable that you've made the right choice in that person, and you're on their schedule. There's no question that they're going to have time for you when the time comes to start your project. So, hire designers, writers, tax accountants, attorneys, whatever it is. Don't wait until you're ready for that person to start the work for you, to research and interview and select them. Use your downtime right now to get ahead of this stuff for the year to come. So 2 more tips. This is going by so fast. We're going to have plenty of time for questions. This last one I think is really important. Give customers a reason to act now. So create a sense of urgency to jumpstart that customer spending. It's really easy for your customers to put off purchases in the weeks following the holidays, and you all know this. I mean, anyone who's had a small business, me included, know that January is just a really hard time for our customers to be thinking about, their next purchase with our small business. So a really great offer can be tough for them to ignore. Say, for example, you wouldn't even be doing the work for that customer until the weather warms up. You're a contractor who does replacement windows or roofing, or a landscaper, or a tax accountant, and it's not quite your season yet. But if you reach out to those customers, whether it's through an email, on social media, putting an offer up on your directory listings in your website, reaching out to them by phone if they're old, tried and true customers that you want to make sure you have nailed down for next year. Even if the work's not going to start until spring, call them now, get them signed up, lock them down, and in exchange for that promise of work when the time comes, give them 10% off, or 2 for 1, or make them a priority in terms of your scheduling so their job comes first. Whatever it is that is going, your customers better than anyone else, that is going to be meaningful to them, that will get them to sign the contract or make the promise, put down the deposit. Go ahead and do it now, because you'd be surprised at what that sense of it's a marketing standby for a reason. You would be surprised at how effective that really is. And then the last one is recharge. Don't fill every hour of your slower seasons with tasks. Running a small business is all-consuming, and you need to take advantage of some of this downtime to focus on the parts of your life that have absolutely nothing to do with your business. You need to do something that brings you joy, because that time that you take for yourself and for your family, and just to take a breath and take a beat, will make you a better small business owner and help to remind you what all that hard work is really for.
Thanks, Sara.
Sure.
We can open it up now for a few questions from the audience. Let's see, we have one question saying, are there advantages to introducing myself to my competition, or would this hurt my business? Maybe like offering a partnership, etc.
So that's really interesting. I think if it's a direct competitor, it's probably just the polite thing to do. I mean, you might want to be a little careful about what you share with an absolutely direct one-to-one competitor. But what I would say is finding other small business owners in the same industry, maybe in a different region, like the Manta small business community is a great place for that because, if you are a contractor, you can meet hundreds of other contractors, but they're not competing for the same business because they're not in your neighborhood. That's a place where you can really open up, really ask questions and get a lot of great advice because there's no conflict there. No one's losing business to anyone else. And then close competitors or similar or complementary businesses. So if you're a CPA, obviously a really great idea to get involved in your chamber or local organizations, get to know tax accountants, get to know insurance brokers, get to know estate attorneys, because those obviously can be great client leads.
Thanks, Sarah. I have another question from the audience today. What type of organizational tools do you recommend for your planning? Outlook, written, phone app? I've never left my written planner, but find it cumbersome when I'm on the fly.
Yeah, so that's a tough one. So what I like to do is get down in the nitty gritty using just an Excel spreadsheet. There's other tools like Basecamp's a really great project management tool. But what I do is I save my written planner because I do love that physical checking off of the goal that I've accomplished or the task I've completed for really high level. So I literally try to keep it to one page. And then when I need to get down into the details and the real planning of things, that's when I take it online. But I still get that satisfaction of the physical handwritten higher level list. As far as apps go, again, Basecamp is a great one. It's a web app. They have a great phone app for iPhone and Android. Clear, which is an iPhone and Android app just for your phone. That's a great just sort of everyday to-do list. It lets you sort of drag and drop and prioritize and sort of click things off, and you can also share tasks. So that's my personal way. I think everybody just needs to experiment and sort of figure out what they can and can't live with.
Okay, sounds great. Another question we have from the audience. I am a single proprietor of a proofreading editing company, and I'm trying to reach more potential authors. I've had some success with Facebook ads, but not great. I wanted to try Twitter, but I'm a little scared. I've heard they're not so useful.
So reaching other authors, I would think Twitter actually, I'm not sure what type of authors exactly, but Twitter would probably be a great place to just start making those initial connections with those authors. You see a lot of editorial broadcasting going on Twitter, and it's a great place to, I know, at least in my experience, make great connections with journalists who also tend to be authors as well. I would also go and see if they have a blog, if that author keeps a blog, and start commenting on their blog posts. But definitely connect with them on Twitter and start tagging them in tweets so that they see you talking about them, because I can guarantee you they have a Hootsuite set up where they're monitoring every time someone mentions their Twitter handle, and it would be a great opportunity for you to get on their radar with Twitter, actually.
All right, thank you, Sarah. We have time for just one more question. It's a little tougher to come up with creative marketing ideas for a counseling service. Do you have any tips in that regard?
Creative marketing. I think a counseling service, these are people who are probably obviously looking for answers and looking for guidance. So in my mind, that's a really natural fit with content marketing. I'm going to go blog all the way on that one. I think, you're going to find people just via Google searches for, questions that they're having. How do I deal with the loss of a parent? Or, does my child need grief counseling after the loss of a grandparent? If you have an article on your blog that is an answer to that question that they're typing into Google, chances are, as long as you do the blog correctly, and I would just go with like a WordPress or a TypePad to make sure that it's sort of set up for success in terms of search engine optimization, you're going to start ranking in the search engines, and people are going to find you that way. I would supplement that, however, with broadcasting your blog posts on Facebook and promoting those Facebook posts. Hey, read my latest article on grief counseling for children after the loss of a grandparent. make the link to your blog article, but promote that Facebook post to people in your area so that you're making sure that you're hitting those local people looking for information like that can actually become clients.
Thank you, Sarah. This has been really helpful today. We've got to wrap it up now, but be sure to check out our other webinars linked in the resource list. Thanks, everyone, for attending today.